All right, welcome to Mary Walter Radio. Let me just turn that music down in one hot second. There we go. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this thing back there. Oh, no, let's get rid of that. Okay, how do I get rid of that in the back? That's where we go. All right, here we are. Let's make everybody bigger. Can I do three? Nope. How do I get three across? Two. There we go. Three across. Yay! So professional. As I said, welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. It is so great to have everybody here. They're already chiming in. I'm Mary Walter. If you have not liked the podcast, please do so. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that as well. Appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your family. You can go back and watch old episodes. There's tons of guests that we've had, and they're always a lot of fun. So please do that. And you can get the audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Just look for Mary Walter Radio. My work husband, James, is here. I don't know why his name is Penny, but it is.
It is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we watched a lot of Big Bang Theory, and, I'm marrying Sheldon. So,
Okay.
Penny. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that third handsome face there is comedian Fred Rubino is with us. Yay. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you. He's got a beer. He's all ready to go. Kind of
Yes.
thought it would be like a bourbon, but he's going with a beer. Looked like a Corona, maybe? I was right. It's a Corona.
Like the
Corona
virus.
Light. Yeah, that's right. That's so many people called it Corona. Love it. Thank you for joining us. We have a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, and Fred is. Let me see. You're from Brooklyn, right? You're like the boy from Brooklyn. You represent Brooklyn. So my question to you is: have you moved to Jersey yet, like everybody else from Brooklyn?
Actually, what happened was I moved to Florida after the whole neighborhood went under, and the New York City just went into the toilet. So I moved to Florida, and my daughter was going to college there, and then she got a job in Manhattan. So now I have a place in Old Bridge, New Jersey, and I have a place in Florida, and I go back and forth.
Yeah, the migratory path of the Benny is Brooklyn to Staten, Italy to Monmouth County, New Jersey. That's the migratory path of the Benny. It's amazing.
Yes, across we call the Verrazano the Guinea Gangplank.
You know, my grandfather called it that forever. And I finally said to him, I'm like, Pop-Pops, you can't say that. But he did.
If you're a Guinea, you can.
Yeah.
No. He's Irish as the day is long. So no, he didn't understand those rules. So just for those of you watching at home, this here is not herpes. And you can see a little bit here, not herpes. This is what happens when you have a precancerous spot treated.
Ouch.
Yeah. So they actually, it's not that bad. I have to tell you, James knows, I get my checkup because unlike Fred, all my ancestors are from north of the Alps. So I get my skin cancer checked done every year, and they always find something, but lately it's just like little things. So they give you this cream now. It's amazing what science has done, how they can treat this stuff. Years ago, they gave you a cream that you had to put on instead of cutting it out, which I prefer, the cream. But it was like, you had to do it for 14 days, and it was like putting acid on an open wound. It was terrible. Now, this latest thing that they gave me, 5 days, and it's this little tiny bit of cream that comes, and it's super expensive. If you don't have insurance, it's like $1,300.
Oh,
well, nice.
Because the insurance company would much rather you have it cut out of your face, right? That's what the insurance company would prefer, that you just have them cut it out of your face. So there is a program anyway. So I got it for less than that. They will offer it to you for less than that. It's called Cliceria, and you put the little tiny bit on these areas, right? But you kind of got to get around it too, just to make sure. And it's fine until like about day 5, and you're like, "Ooh, it's starting to burn." It's starting to burn. So you're done. You don't have to put any more on, but that's when it starts then to like activate afterwards. So I was supposed to do TV yesterday, and I said to my husband, like, "What do you think?" He goes, "Oh, it's fine. You just look like you have herpes." I'm like, "What?"
It's just a little herpes, just a little case.
This is great.
It's a flavor.
My husband's a doctor, Fred. So this is what I get. So he's like, it just looks like herpes. herpes? I'm like, you mean like a cold sore? Yeah, like, like you get a cold sore from herpes. I'm like, I'm not doing TV if that's what it looks like.
That's funny.
But he thought he was being nice. He's like, no, it just looks like herpes. I'm like,
It's just a touch of herpes. That's all.
Well, herpes, goes a long way.
so anyway, that's not what it is. So for those of you looking at my face thinking, oh my God, she's got herpes, it is not. It's honestly, in this situation, I'm actually glad that it's skin cancer instead of herpes.
Yeah, skin cancer gets you a lot more sympathy than herpes.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
In some circles.
Right, in some circles. Yeah. Right. Know your audience.
Exactly. So I get the funny feeling this is going to be a super fun show. I kind of met Freddie. We were both on Frank Morano's show. He hosts After Midnight, and it is hilarious. I have to give him so much credit because it's hard to get people like me and Fred to get up at 2 a.m. to be on your radio show. But we did, especially when they don't serve coffee or drinks or anything. And I was operating under the guise that this was like a 15 minute hit. I didn't know it was a whole hour. So imagine my shock when he's like, yeah, so I'm upstairs in my pajamas in my studio upstairs. And I just I hear Frank say, yeah, so for the next hour, I'm like, wait, what?
I was shocked when people called in. I was like, who is up?
Well, we live in a 24-hour society now, right?
Yeah.
I've done morning shows and I'm at the Dunkin' Donuts in line at 4:30 in the morning with all the bread trucks from Brooklyn because they're all over northern New Jersey. The guys driving the bread trucks, the cops changing shifts. Like there's a line at Dunkin' Donuts at 4:30 in the morning in Jersey. So
the city never sleeps.
I was going to say, it does depend on market because I did overnight radio. I've told this story a couple of times, and I was so bored at 3 a.m. I tried to give away $100. I said, you could pick up the cash at the door, and I couldn't get it for 3 breaks. I couldn't get anybody to call. I'm like, I actually have 0 listeners.
Well, this is WABC. This is a big market.
This is big. Yeah. This was
yay. It's WABC, and he's also syndicated nationally. So the show is on stations across the country, which definitely helps, have a larger audience. But the show was so much fun to do. And I tagged both Fred, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name who was on with us, but he's like a producer. So he's like up here, and I'm like the unemployed radio chick down here, so, so there was
and I'm under there.
Yeah.
Clean toilet.
Yeah, that's true.
I did.
I seen him outside. I was in my car and I told him, I go, hey, you need a lift anyway? And he's like, no, I live uptown. I'm going to walk. I was like, what are you out of your mind? I said, get in the car. I'll drive. He goes, no, I like to walk. So we might never see him again.
Wait, were you in studio? Were you in studio, Fred?
Yes. Me and him were in the studio.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's no way. No way. I was in my pajamas at home. My hair is all a mess because I was in bed. I'm in my pajamas sitting upstairs in the old servant's bathroom in this house, looking like I could barely get it together. So let's see who's here. So this is one of the things we do, Fred. Oh, and before we go anywhere, we're going to have you plug everything, but you can find him fredrubino.com. Follow him on Twitter. Very funny. He's got shows coming up on Staten Island at the Looney Bin. That is coming up next week. The Comedy Cove in Springfield, New Jersey at the end of the month. Into October, Porky's Comedy Club in St. Cloud, Florida. And in November, he has Off the Hook Comedy Club in Naples, Florida. Very nice neighborhood. Look at you. Also, the Eagles Club in Naples. Hanging out with the wealthy.
Oh, yeah. Those Eagles, they're not like the Moose.
Yes, but they're Eagles in Naples. So
yes, that's the whole thing.
There you go. So one of the things we do here, Fred, is we let people comment and they get to chime in, and we put it up on the screen, and we can answer their questions. We can talk here. We eventually get to topics. So now Tex USA says, I just informed Laura Ingram she's missing your show. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Now Tex USA is drinking Pinot Noir.
Oh, look at that. In Naples.
Yeah, I don't know where Now Tax USA is. I have no idea where he is located. Tina, it happens to be James here, happens to be his fiance,
Sheldon.
says he sounds like my Brooklyn raised grandma.
Give him my number.
She also says, thank God for no herpes, and it sounds better than Jardians. Thank you, Tina. She watches a lot of commercials. We have to work on my makeup budget. Hey, that's what happens with real life broadcast. You don't have to apologize. No, I can't put makeup on it yet. I have to put a cream on it. I can't do anything until for like days. So it's not that I have to work on my makeup budget, which I do my makeup myself, but I can't put anything on it. So that's why it's like that. So
what is your makeup budget? About 10K? Where are we at?
Yeah, it's I used to go to Harmon Cosmetics, which we all know Harmon being in Jersey. Harmon was all over the place, but they were tied with Bed Bath & Beyond. And when Bed Bath & Beyond went under and closed their Jersey stores, they also closed Harmon. So now I actually have to pay more instead of discount for the makeup.
Makeup budgets are like the circle of life. When you're a teenager, you just have like a few dollars, you buy a few things. Then as you get a little older, you have all the makeup, you spend hundreds, and then as you get really old, it just goes back. Then you just spackling and stuff like that. Some sandpaper.
I have to tell you, Fred, it's frightening that you know this, but which I don't know if this is how your makeup arc has been. I'm not sure if that's what it's been for you too. I'm not going to judge.
Don't judge.
But James has been known to wear dresses in public, so
Wow.
I got some Facebook pictures. They're there.
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
Right. Check. See, but the makeup arc is because you hit a certain age. And James is kind of coming into it. I'm already there where you just don't care anymore. Like you definitely hit the I don't care stage of life. I still put on like mascara and stuff to go to the grocery store. I don't like do it all. But if my hair is not good, then I have to I at least throw it into a ponytail. And I try not to look like John Fetterman walking through the produce department because I don't want to scare anyone.
And I'm trying to look like John Fetterman so I can get stuff for free. So goes
there you go. That's something to shoot for.
Greg says, I think the entire medical community is always leaning towards disfigurement lately. It's going to heal. It'll be gone like in a week, although I have an event Thursday night, so I'm really hoping I don't look like I have herpes on Thursday night. If so, I'm not going. But I don't think they're heading towards disfigurement. Oh, I think he probably means because of the gender stuff with the kids. Oh. That's where I think he's going.
I thought he was talking about my old band pictures where I was had a beard but wearing a dress. So I thought maybe figment there. I was ahead of my time with that, by the way. I was pretty ahead of my time. I mean, that's popular now. To just be a dude but wear a dress, that's kind of a thing.
Yeah, that is true.
But that wasn't in 2001.
No, you were ahead of the curve.
That's fat,
See,
young,
you did it ironically and funny. Now people do it seriously.
Right.
That's the difference.
Well, Twisted Sister was doing it in the 80s.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
they were, yeah. Dee Snider.
Dee Snider. You know that's
right. Queen's Raider said, I thought Joe Biden cured cancer. This is true. Bill says, hello, James and Freddie. Now Tax USA, the Elks are where the action is. The mountaintops of West Virginia. Oh, the Elks in the mountaintop. I've seen the dress pics. Who knows who's the ruler in this relationship? Now Tax USA says, I'm wearing a clown suit to court tomorrow for my Dewey case.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah. A
real statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wear a kilt. Great. Wear an Irish kilt or Scottish kilt and say, hey, of course I was drinking.
Yeah, there you go. Very quickly, let me see if I can share this real quickly. I just want to put this here. Let me see if I do this properly. Share screen. I don't know if this is going to work. We'll find out. If it doesn't work, I'll give you the webpage. Share. Okay. So here it is. See if you can hear this. So this is from Now Tax USA. See if you can hear this. This is a free ringtone you can download.
And yes, together we will make America great again.
That ringtone was designed to piss people off. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, would you download that ringtone?
Well, for me, it'd be ironically, but I like pissing people off. So yes, I'm in.
I wanted a better message from him. Yeah. I would love to hear him just say China. That's it. I just missed the way he says China.
Yes, China.
Or maybe him saying, "Don't call Chris Christie a fat pig. That's not right." That is one of the most classic lines he has ever uttered.
I have to tell you, I kind of miss that version of Trump. He's toned it down a little bit, which I get. But he could still do stuff like that and be funny. But I think he's a little gun shy at this point in the game. And I miss that version of Trump. That is what endeared me to him so much. I thought he was hilarious when he would say things like that.
Yeah, 60 lawsuits will take the edge off your humor, I guess.
I guess. So you can find that free ringtone at magajam.com.
Awesome.
magajam.com. So there you go. So my husband said, he goes, "Oh, I'll download it onto your phone." I'm like, "No, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm very, very brave amongst my people, but out in public, not so much."
So Wegman's not a good place.
No. I think a good ringtone is you saying, "It's not herpes." That would be my ringtone. It's not herpes. And then you'll see people go, "Would you like to get in front of me online?" You can get in front. Go ahead, let him in the front.
So here's a message for you, Fred. I'm working on it. The ringtone you want. Where do I send the royalties?
FredRubino.com. That's all. Just send all the money there.
There you go. All right. Since we have you here, there's a couple things I do want to talk about as far as politics goes, but I also want to get into you about comedy, especially with the story of Hasan Minhaj that is so popular, that is really in the news right now. So I just want to go to this one piece of news that broke a little bit late today. Ray Epps, we all remember Ray Epps. Everybody was screaming, "Fed, Fed, Fed" at Ray. He has now been charged with misdemeanor disorderly conduct. He faces one count of knowingly engaging in disorderly and disruptive conduct with the intent to impede and disrupt the government's planned activity on January 6th. So this was filed yesterday. We found out about it today. Now, he had filed a defamation suit against Fox and Tucker Carlson over their portrayal of him, etc. Right. So what is your gut reaction from each of you? Let's go to Fred first.
Yep.
Everybody knows that he was in on it. There's video after video of him telling people go into the Capitol, just 10 times more than what people who are sitting in jail right now for like 2 years have done. You have grandmothers who went in, took a selfie, and they're in prison for a year and a half. This guy's all over YouTube and social media telling people, go in, go in. If there's anyone who should have gotten at least 10 or 20 years, if that's what you're doing to these people, it was him. So I don't know. This is probably a sham. I bet my bottom dollar he doesn't do it a minute of time because he's in on the whole thing.
So my answer was actually a question was, is anybody shocked that he got charged?
Yes, I am.
Really? Right.
I'm shocked.
It's a smoke screen, though, because he's not going to get anything. They're going to say, look, you see, we charged him too. But the old lady who was in there taking a selfie with mittens on and a hat, she got 2 years. But him, time served. We really can't prove anything.
Yep.
That's what I see.
To me, I'm interested to see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. The tell to me is there was no FBI raid. They're still raiding people. They're still breaking down their doors, arresting them in front of their neighbors, going in their homes, marching their spouses out, the kids out of the house, the whole bit. No raid into Ray Epps. That was that's the first tell. Now, Julie Kelly on Twitter, and you can follow her. I don't know if you guys follow her, but she's amazing. Julie_Kelly 2. And here's what she says. Now, she is a lawyer. She reads this stuff inside out and sideways. and she's been very involved in the January 6th stuff. She says this lame single charge tells us everything we need to know about Ray Epps. No obstruction felony, no civil disorder charge, not even a trespassing on restricted grounds misdemeanor. I can't even tell you the last time I saw an information, which is a misdemeanor version of an indictment, for a J6er on a sole count. Not sure if one exists, but I'm going to check. Now, along those lines, yesterday, a journalist, an independent journalist, who videotaped what was the craziness that was happening at the Capitol, got sentenced to jail. He didn't go in the Capitol. He was on the Capitol grounds videotaping it. He's like, I didn't know that I was trespassing. There were no signs. There was no barrier because somebody cut it all down, cut the fencing down, rolled it up and put it to the side. So he had no clue. He's going to jail. He didn't hurt anyone. He didn't break a window. He did nothing but videotape to report on it. And he's going to jail. He was charged with more than Ray Epps.
Wait, are they charging people who are on the grounds now? Like,
yes.
Yes.
I understand breaching the Capitol on some level. That almost seems sane, or even whatever. But my point is, on the grounds, aren't you
They're
allowed
charging
on the grounds?
people who weren't even there.
Yes.
By the way, December 15th in Long Island, I will be doing a benefit show to raise money for lawyer fees for people who were arrested on January 6th.
Oh, fantastic. So you
Where
can
in
find
Long
that at fredrubino.com. Where on Long Island are you?
It'll be at American Warehouse in Islip, Long Island. It's where they have all the Trump stuff, and they're very patriotic. So I will be doing a benefit there to raise money for some legal fees for these poor people. Because now, if you do a GoFundMe, they're going after the GoFundMe money so that they can't get money to have representation. It's amazing.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. So that'll be up on my website soon. I didn't get the ticket information yet, but I'm pretty sure if you're in the Long Island area, just come down December 5th. There's plenty of seats. There's hundreds of seats. So come and support the cause. And if you like woke comedy, don't come.
Have you noticed that that's not really a comedian thing? There's not a lot of woke comedy, right? I mean, really, comedians are comedians. I mean, you all laugh and giggle. If it's, from everything I understand, like, you put a bunch of comedians in the same room, no matter what, they're all going to just have a good time and laugh with each other.
I would say yes, but, there are a lot of clubs and venues that are.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I get that. I'm sure there's plenty of venues that have a real issue with some stuff comedians say.
Yeah, I'll get a list of stuff. Don't say this. Don't say that. And by the way, it's very liberal here, so don't do pro-Trump. And I'm like, should I just leave now or what? What should I do? But I'm a conservative, non-woke comic.
It seems like a bunch of horse shit that you have to even think about that. And honestly, I don't know. Look, you've been in it longer, and obviously I'm not a comedian. I'm just a radio guy who loves comedians. But I mean, just from talking to comedians for years, there's always been some level of that, right? There's always been some level of clubs of the day saying, like, this era of time, we're no longer saying the F word. And I meant about people, right? Like,
right.
Or whatever. Like, every era sort of had its new things that were like, you're not really supposed to say these things. I don't want Mary to kill me, and I can see she's trying to get back in, but like,
right.
I just heard, oh God, who was the queen talking about it? They're like, well, thank God we brought retard back.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
who
his
said
point
that?
was nobody's getting canceled. I've named Tom Segura. I don't know.
Right. Now I have my own restrictions.
I mean,
I restrict myself because I have my own kind of standards and what fits to my liking. So I don't use the word retard. Now,
sure.
I don't use the N-word.
I think he was almost going for the idea of like it's harder to get canceled nowadays, right? I don't know if you meant literally that word, but like in context of like there is the backlash is turning around, and I always thank the comedy community, because you're the people who are like the barometer for the time now to keep the world in check, right? Like to keep that in check on some level. Comedians do a great job of that.
Yeah. But over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's been a real struggle because you've had a bunch of the majority of comics are liberal, and which is fine because I'll go to watch a liberal comic and he'll make fun of conservatives or Trump. And if it's funny, I'll laugh. I don't care. It's comedy. But when it comes to you doing it, like I'll come off stage and the manager will go, "Come here. Don't you ever say this again. Don't ever say that again." I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Then don't ever hire me again. Do me a favor.
Right. But, some guys are breaking through. Like Shane Gillis is very conservative. I think Neil Brennan, it might be a libertarian. Please don't quote me on that. I'm not saying I know, but like he seems very not, woke, more toward a libertarian mentality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the guys do sort of get through this way now. I think. Maybe,
but these are the top level people. I'm talking about like the people down in the trenches, in these clubs, in these things, and
that's how you want it to filter, right? That's what that's the hope, right? If somebody can break through and make it popular again to be able to just be who you want, right?
Exactly.
You shouldn't be able to be a quote unquote liberal comedian and make fun of Trump if you can't be a conservative leaning comedian. Making fun of Biden, and because I'm a libertarian who hates everybody, so I'm happy to throw shade on anything.
Yeah,
and laugh about it.
Like I said, if it's funny, it's fine.
Yes, and that's the most important part.
But you will get comics who go up there and just rant on conservatives and how horrible these people are, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay. If I wanted this, I go home. My wife, but she's a professional at this, at degrading me. I don't need to pay for this. So that I don't appreciate. Go up there, if you make a clever joke about it, fine. If not, then it doesn't work, and I don't want part of it.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. Hey, look, hey!
Sorry, IT department.
Hold on. Go ahead, say it.
Hi, IT department failed you. Sorry. I got phones. I got Wi-Fi here. I ran a cable to the neighbor's house.
Everything went down, like everything in one shot. Literally everything went down. Sorry.
Your internet got herpes.
Who knew it spread that way?
He said the internet got herpes.
That's great.
Oh my God. I'm sitting here going, can anybody hear me? Can you hear me? I'm talking. What's going on?
No, you just froze on our screen and that was it.
We're talking about your favorite subject, being woke or not being woke. But more importantly, that, comedy clubs, not the comedians themselves, but comedy clubs have gotten pretty woke. And it's comedians, we were saying, are the kind of the backbone of that fight of like pushing back against that in society.
Right. So let's talk about that and what's going on with Hasan Minhaj.
I've never had a Hasan Minhaj, but I hear
I actually don't know.
Hedonism has that. How does he say his last name? Well, is that his last name?
Oh, it's Minhaj. It's not Minaj. I was thinking of Nicki Minaj.
Menage a trois, I thought you would say.
I was thinking of Nicki Minaj. It's Minhaj. So I've never heard of him before, but he's a Muslim Indian American. He's checking a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And he did the piece that was written in the New Yorker by Claire Malone.
Okay.
And it turns out that he's been lying in a lot of his stories. Now, I would assume that as a comedian, you hyperbolize because things are funnier that way. We do that when we're telling stories, right? Like it's funny, what's going to get a laugh. But he's hyperbolizing and lying, literally lying and making up stories that involve racism and cops, police brutality. And he said, well, this is just what comedians do. I get the comedians hyperbolize, Fred, but I think that at some point you don't do that because you're hurting people.
If it's done in a comedy club, anything goes. That's how I see it. I didn't know that he was doing that actually in a comedy club. If you're doing it in a comedy club, 90% of the things I say on stage, even though it's about Italians, it's about my grandmother, it's about this, is not true. But I can see what you're saying. If you're saying it that's at such a serious thing as like racism or cops beat me, and now you're tugging on a whole different a string on with the audience, because now the audience is like, oh my God, now there's sympathy. Right. You're not up there for sympathy. You're up there to get laughs. So when I make up, I'll make up things about my grandmother that's obviously not true. Like I say, these days, women, they make English muffin pizzas. They think, oh my God, I cooked Italian food. I said, my grandmother would get up in the middle of the night to pee. On her way to the bathroom, she'd make a tray of baked ziti.
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
But in fairness, though, there probably in all of your, even the stuff you're making up, you are making it up based off like the interactions you saw with your family and the craziness that were in your lives. And I'm going to quote Bert Kreischer, who's another comedian I like, who just had a really funny thing about stories. And he said, stories aren't court reports. You make up, the reason you massage details in a story or even make up whole parts of it is you're trying to get people to feel your story. Or 100%. As far as get to a bit, you know your audience. If you're on, Businessman, obviously you're tailoring it to that. But I mean, you know what I mean? It's
100%. Yeah. But you know what? There is that line. Like if I get up there and say, I did 10 years in prison. And people are like, what? And I play on that and I start telling people that. And all of a sudden the people are like, wow, I'm connecting with this guy because he's had some hardships and it didn't happen. I don't think that's cool.
Right.
So let me ask you. So here's some of the stories that he's defending. He did a 2022 Netflix special. And in that special, he told a story of how he received through the mail some white powder, which he and his wife suspected was anthrax and which spilled all over his toddler daughter when they opened it. They rushed her to the hospital. And he claims that this is part of racial harassment because he tells a lot of stories about being racially harassed and a lot of racism and how he's the victim of it. Well, this reporter, Claire Malone, interviewed his doormen, his residence's mailroom employees, security personnel that were hired through the show, his personal security guard, reviewed records from local hospitals and the NYPD team that's tasked with investigating anthrax. There was no evidence of the incident. And when she challenged him on this, he admitted it never happened. But he did claim that someone had once sent him white powder, which he never told anyone on his security team about. So he made up an entire story of being sent, because of his race or because of his Muslim, being sent this envelope of white powder, like someone wants to hurt him because of that. And it never happened. Like, I look at that and think, well, that's not a cool story to tell because you're inferring that there's racism that doesn't exist. That's the last thing this country needs.
I agree. He's really tapping into something to get people on his side. That's not clever. That's not what you paid money to get into a comedy show to see creative writing. All you're doing is make it, like I said, if I made up a story like I was put in jail for 10 years and I didn't do it, and I just went with it, I'm like, see why? Let me just make up a decent story that's funny about Italians and get them that way. That's totally wrong that he did that. Now, I've even seen Muslim comics say like that they were the ones mailing the anthrax, that they were like terrible terrorists, that they never could make it. That's even okay.
That's hilarious. You can make fun of your own, right? Would you ever make a joke talking about racism and in which the bad people who are committing the racism are Black people? They were racist against you because you're white, and that, and you tell this whole story and it never happened. You're demonizing an entire group of people.
I was going to play devil's advocate and say, if there's a story in his life of knowing a family member that happened to, or somebody in his community, and he's doing it to change the names, even then it sounds like a one-act play and not comedy. But you get my point. Like, I don't think that's as bad as what he said it was, which was, well, I was mailed white powder once.
I
That
think what
seems
he's
pretty
doing
bad.
is he, instead of going for a laugh, is going for this sympathy, and
Yeah.
it's very damaging to spread this kind of racism because it doesn't lead to a good story. It doesn't lead to a punchline. Then it shouldn't be said on stage.
Now there was another. He got 2 Netflix special. How come you don't have a Netflix special? You're way funnier.
Well, if that anthrax would have went through, maybe I would have had one.
I
sent
said Fred
Parmesan
Anthrax.
cheese.
Send it to.
I sent Parmesan cheese to people. That's right.
Well, if he was if he was, lactose intolerant, that could have been seen as a threat.
Exactly.
So he did another a special called Homecoming King. And in this, listen to this, he tells the story of how a white girl who had agreed to go to the prom with him wound up rejecting him and went with a white boy instead. He said he only found out about it when he arrived at her house all dressed up, ready to take her to the prom, but the other boy was already there. He says her family didn't want her prom pictures to be with a South Asian boy. So he alleges she went on, though, to marry an Indian man. The sick twist at the end of it is she went on to marry an Indian man. However, this woman was interviewed by the woman who wrote the piece in the New Yorker, who is actually clearly an actual journalist. There's at least one out there. They were good friends. She said the woman says they were good friends at the time. The rejection never happened. She declined his invite to the prom flat out because they were friends. She wanted to go with a friend. When Minhaj confirmed, which he confirmed when he was confronted by the reporter, he's like, yeah, I never went to her house. She told me ahead of time. But he invited the woman and her now husband to his off-Broadway version of his show. And he projected real pictures of them on stage, blurring out their faces, and they're in the audience.
I want my money back.
And now she claims that what ensued was years of harassment and doxing. And when she approached him about it, he blew it off.
That's terrible. That's terrible. See, that's not comedy. I don't know what that is. Even if I tell a racist joke, it's obviously comedy. Once the punchline is said, you might think it's racist, you might think it's inappropriate, but it's an obvious joke. Right. I'm not saying that these people did this to me and then I'll be getting harassed by this person. That's totally out of bounds. He's taking it to the next. It's like Jesse Smollett is doing stand-up.
Juicy Smollett.
Yeah, Juicy Smollett is doing stand-up. They got me in a Subway sandwich.
Oh, that. By the way, that Chappelle bit about him might be one of the funniest things I thought of an opener of somebody in history. I thought that was when he came out and did that Jesse Smollett bit, and he's talking about
I do a similar bit, and
nice.
I did it like about 2 weeks before the special came out, and when I seen it, I was like, well, no one's gonna believe that I did this first, But yeah. I do a similar thing about how at first we believed it, but then like the story got a little gayer and gayer and gayer. Like, they bleach on me, and then one was wearing white after Labor Day. It was terrible.
That's a pretty different joke. I like that joke. Yeah, that's good.
But it's an obvious joke. It's nothing about racism. Who cares?
Right.
So let me ask you, Fred. How has, and I don't know if you guys talked about this when my IT department was running up from the second floor to the first floor to the basement to the first floor to the second floor, yelling at me the entire time. So did you guys talk about what it's like trying to do comedy now in this environment? You talked about woke and you talked about all that. So let me ask you, do people like Dave Chappelle and what's his name, Bill Burr and others, are they making it somewhat easier now because they're just coming out and saying, screw it, I don't care, and they're kind of getting a pass? They're being allowed to be funny. Has the pendulum swung so far to one side? Do you see it starting to move back towards sanity?
Well, I can tell you that those guys who are on the top, it doesn't matter. They can
Right.
say anything because they're putting so many asses in the seats. So money still reigns. But when it gets down to like the comedy club where you're just getting a few bucks, you have to do what they say, cover what they say, and don't say what they say. So the best way, this is what I enjoy the most out of comedy is I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and people see that I'm a conservative. People see my values, and I say whatever I want. So those people come to my show. And it's like them, like they know, you know what to expect when you go to the Bill Burr show. You know what to expect with Chappelle. So on a smaller level, when you come to my show, you're going to expect to see pro-Trump, anti-liberal, making fun of woke people and stuff like that. You come to see it and you appreciate it when it's there. In fact, every time I get off stage, I'm like, you should have said more about Biden. You should have said more. So the thing is to attract a crowd that appeals to your humor. That's the best crowd you can have.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. So here's the other thing. I find that in general, and this may be a very biased view, but I do know people who are super, super left. They tend to be, and the worst of them all are the single women who are either divorced or never married. They tend to be, in my humble opinion, devoid of any sense of humor. Liberals in general, everything is so serious, nothing's funny to them, everything's a crisis, and the single women are very, very bitter. They're really, and I know I'm stereotyping an entire group. They're not all like that. I get that, but for the most part, they're just miserable people. I can't imagine why they would even go to a comedy show, even if you were like a pro-Biden or a pro-Democrat comedian, because nothing's funny. Everything's offensive. How do you even be a liberal comedian? I don't understand it.
I don't think most people go to comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Most of the people I see at comedy
They
clubs,
do. They
and
do.
my friends that like comedy. I mean, I know you're right, they do. But I mean, most of the people I know who like comedy,
Everybody's frozen.
Yeah, sorry, I froze too. Would see you. Like, they would go see somebody just because they're funny. I mean, it's fine if you have a lean, and I'm sure that gets some people in the audience. But in general, the people I know who like comedy don't care if you're making fun of Trump or Biden. They don't care if you're, they just want to see the joke. You're in that room. They just want the jokes to be funny. And I know obviously everybody gets heckled by people who, don't fit their box, and that happens
just
too.
Be funny. But you know what? Yeah. Like she says, I go out there and I'll be laughing, and you'll see 2 or 3 people. Some of them, like she says, the typical stereotypical single woman, and they're standing there with their arms folded. Everyone's laughing around them. Sometimes their friends are laughing, and they're going to prove that they're morally better than everyone in the room because they're not going to laugh at the joke about the Jewish person or the black person. Right. So that's their thing. It's signal virtual signaling.
Oh yeah, which is for me a dumb reason to go to a comedy show. Right?
Yes, but you know what it is? They can't help themselves. That's their personality. They have adopted that as their personality. And if they're at a comedy show, if they're at Starbucks, no matter where they are, it's on their mind to show people I am more socially aware than anybody out there. Meanwhile, they probably never gave any money to charity. They probably never helped anybody that they're screaming you should help. They're usually the biggest hypocrites in the room.
Right. Yeah. And again, that just goes to prove if you're that person, right? I mean, and both sides, by the way, have that kind of person, right? The person that just has to, stand up for some belief system in a clearly joke mentality level, right? If you're I always say in your comedy club, no matter what side you're on, right? Because I've heard people just have the opposite effect. Like, you make fun of Trump, and there's always some guy who's just it can't take it anymore that people are
Can't
making fun of
take it.
Trump and has to make a speech. In the end, they're all just supposed to be jokes. You're in that box for jokes. You go to see something because of jokes, and you like some people more than others. And we all have our favorites. But in the end, when you, especially at the club level, not at the big Burr level like she's talking about, like we're
Right.
talking about, down in the trenches, it really should be, are the jokes funny?
You know what the best compliment I ever get when I leave a show? Someone come up to me and say, I didn't agree with one thing you said, but I laughed my ass off all night.
100%. That would be amazing. Yeah.
That is the most amazing thing.
My poor IT department is not a happy camper right now. Now Tax USA says Fred Rubino in his first Mary Walter production, the comedian that would not lie. He also says conservatives can take a joke. A New Yorker saying F them if they cannot take a joke. Wisdom from the mountaintop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So James, we got to go. I mean, I know you're way south down by Atlantic City, and I'm further north, but we got to go see. We got to go see Fred. This is gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you, Fred, you have an appearance in New Jersey coming up at the end of the month with Bill Spady. Is this a fundraiser for Bill?
That is. It's another fundraiser to get more Republicans in blue states.
All right.
That's what we got to do.
And then the one at the end of the month is not up by, but at the end of the year, and that's to raise money for the January 6th defendants who are sitting in the deplorables jail because they can't get lawyers because nobody wants to represent them. And the vice president isn't, shilling some kind of bailout fund for them. So I assume that'll come up on your page somewhere along the line. So everybody can just go to fredrubino.com if you to find the schedule. So I like that. So.
Or just go to on December 15th, go to American Warehouse, Patriots, whatever it's called, and you will see it. It's a very popular place in Long Island. All conservatives know about the place. Long Island, December 15th. Let's make a difference.
I'll be wearing my Mitt Romney shirt.
Yes, you can wear a Mitt Romney shirt.
I'm just writing this down. American Warehouse. Can you buy tickets in advance?
I don't know if they have that up yet, but
okay.
I'm like I said, there's like 400 seats. There'll be plenty of seats if you just come.
All right. Well, just keep me posted, and I'll definitely put it out there. I'll definitely definitely publicize it. Of course. Let's see. Okay, so we were talking about. I apologize so much for what's happening with my internet. So, and apparently Fred's internet is happening too because he's in and out. So I blame China.
It makes sense. They want to first come after our show. They know we're the mouthpiece.
That's
get
right.
The information out first.
So let me ask you guys what you think about the new Fetterman rule in the Senate. You know, you could because John Fetterman can't dress himself. Apparently, I don't understand what's happening there. But his fashion sense is 8th grade boy, angry boy. You know that. There's no unless you work there. If you're on staff or you're visiting, men have to wear a jacket. Women have to, have certain outfits. There's a dress code for you, but the senators can apparently come dressed like they just crawled out of a dumpster. What do you think?
Well, they're busy senators, so they do so much for us. We should allow them the chance to wear sweatshirts in honor of their sacrifice, or they could dress like respectable humans,
And that's what it's all about, respect. When you go to a professional's building or a professional, someone who's representing you, a lawyer or something like that, a doctor, whatever it is, it shows professionalism and respect for the people who you're representing. If you show up in pajama bottoms and a sweatshirt, and, that just shows complete disrespect for the people who need you the most. Now, I don't think they shouldn't worry about the dress code. They should worry about if you could make a complete sentence. Well, that's who they should let in the Senate. That's who they should let in.
Can we talk about who's the female Republican apparently can't even write her own name? Mitch McConnell's having those blackouts on TV.
That's Dianne Feinstein. She's a Democrat.
Right. So, but that's I was just going party list there. I'm just saying, like, listing these certain people in different parts of our government, whether it's state or federal, that can't write their own name or can't, answer a question in front of a camera.
Mitch
Or
McConnell has frozen more times than her internet.
Yeah, that's not right. That's not politics. I'll bet you this is one of the first things you could probably get all of America to agree on.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
I called my cable company twice.
What's that?
I was watching Mitch McConnell. I called my cable company twice. I go, the thing is frozen. They're like, no, it's not.
That's hilarious. But so here's the thing. I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate here, because my husband, says in the hospital, the residents come in and they're all wearing scrubs. Now, scrubs now are tailored. They're not like scrubs back when he was when he was a doctor. It was only made for men, and they had these big, huge drawstring waists, and you look frumpy and dumpy in them. And they had a dress code. They weren't allowed to do that. Like you couldn't come in scrubs if you were just there for your day. You had to dress nicely. You had your white coat, and there was a little bit of a dress code. Now they come in scrubs. Now the scrubs are more like, they have like a cuff at the ankle, which is back again. It was in 30 years ago, and now it's back. And so they have like nicer scrubs, but they look like kind of almost like sweatpants, but a nicer material and a little bit more tailored. Exactly. But that's what they wear. And he said he actually had to say something to one of them, because they had on the pants, but they just had a t-shirt on. And he had to say something to one of them saying, okay, I get you want to be comfortable. You have to look a little bit more respectful for this. You're a doctor. And he refuses. He'll go in if he gets called in on the weekends, even when he's normally working on the weekends, when he's on call, he goes in a tie. He wears a nice shirt, dress pants, comfortable shoes, but still dress shoes, and a tie. That's what he wears. If he has to go in at 2:00 in the morning, he's putting sweatpants on. During COVID, he lived in sweats, and he started out not living in sweats. And I was like, dude, you're working 13, 15-hour days. You need to start wearing sweats. You can't keep going the way you're going. And he finally started wearing scrubs, not sweats, but finally started wearing scrubs.
Right.
And he wears, the old ones because that's what he has. But I think it's he's yelling at me. What are you yelling? What are you yelling? Oh, he stopped yelling. I think he was saying scrubs and not sweats is what he was yelling at me. But he won't do it. Like, he will not wear scrubs. He just thinks it's like you said, it's disrespectful. But they don't have that concept of it being disrespectful. They don't see anything wrong with it. They feel as long as you're doing the job, what does it matter how I show up to work? Which is why you see people in pajamas in the grocery store. You see people wear slippers everywhere, and you can tell that they're slippers. I like to be comfortable, but man, maybe I'm a dinosaur, because I don't get any of that at all. Pajamas to the grocery store, really?
You know what freaks me out? You know what freaks me out when I'm in the grocery store and I see someone in scrubs shopping next to me. I'm like, whoa, where'd you just come out of? The diphtheria ward? You know what? Shouldn't you take these off before you come outside? I don't want these people with scrubs next to me in public. But when you go into a doctor's office, I want to make sure this is the most professional place. I don't want it to be like cavalier, like, where did I leave that scalpel? Let me see. Oh, yeah. What's going on? And another thing, you've been on a plane. When I was a kid, you've been on a plane. People wore suits. You bought a suit to fly in. Now people are in their underwear walking on the plane. And they always sit next to me. God, I can never get the person that's 150 pounds that just took a shower. Never me. Never.
You have to start paying for the extra legroom seats. You tend to get a little bit better clientele. But I will tell you, we got bumped. We got upgraded. You can apply because we're United Silver, I think, or we're on our way up to Platinum. I think I don't know, whatever level we are. That's why those credit cards that get you miles definitely are worth it. And so you can put in to be upgraded if there's extra seats, right? into first class. And it's the luck of the draw, or whoever puts in first, or whoever's got the most points, whatever. One of our trips, we won and we got upgraded. We're like, oh, so exciting. I will tell you, people in first class dress a little bit nicer, but not much.
Not much is right.
No. You know, and I don't travel like a sloth. I just don't, because, you know, I don't know why, but I just don't. I don't wear sweatpants. I may wear stretchy pants, but nice ones with boots or this or whatever. You know, I try to look a little respectful, a little bit nicer than I would if I'm going to the grocery store.
I know I'm not marrying a girl who would wear pajamas to the grocery store.
Yeah. So
something just got yelled.
Does she really do that?
Ringo?
I wear them to Walmart.
She's saying she wore them to Walmart. Yeah.
Well, Walmart's the exception, you know.
Wait a minute. Way to fulfill a stereotype, though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You see someone dressed nice in Walmart, that's when you got to say something's wrong.
Right. How did you wander in here?
So, little secret. Let's see. Hold on. Tell the people who wear scrubs outside the hospital Halloween is in October. Well, you know, I prefer scrubs to pajamas. Now Tax USA says, sorry to disagree, but the only thing all Americans agree on is we hate income taxes and property taxes. Greg says, a tie is almost a noose. I'm not a fan of dress codes.
We got a diverse group there.
I wore a suit and tie tonight to chat for tonight's show. Next time it's PJs. Thank you. We appreciate that. So we don't have a Walmart near us. We do, but it's like half an hour away. So I don't go to Walmart. I'm not driving half an hour to go to Walmart. It's not happening. If I need anything, I order it online. But when we go up to Lake George, we go up to upstate, we go up to the north end. Fred, I'm sure you're familiar with Lake George. James has been there with us.
Yep.
We go way up to the north end, up by Ticonderoga. There's nothing up there. The only game in town, the only store is Walmart. If it were not for Walmart, there would be nothing, right?
Right.
So where do you go? You go to Walmart. So during COVID, we dress somewhat nicer than the average Ticonderoga Walmart shopper, which honestly isn't hard to do. So listen, God bless these people. They have nothing. So, you know, it's the poorest county in the state of New York. So I'm glad that they have an employer, and I'm glad, and they're super, super nice people. But here we come barreling into Walmart, and we're dressed not super nice, but like I said, a cut above. None of us have masks on because we didn't think you had to wear masks anymore. Little did we see this huge sign hanging over. It says masks must be worn, I guess, because New York was behind New Jersey. So we all come barreling in, no masks. Everybody in the store is masked. We're like, why is everyone wearing masks? Who's wearing masks? Nobody said a word to us. And I swear it's because we were dressed nicer. I swear that's why nobody said boo to us, because we were actually dressed nicely in a Walmart. So I'm wondering if that's the key, is if you dress nicely in a Walmart, people think like you're somebody important and you get better treatment. I don't know.
I'll bet they're in the CIA.
So, well, they did surround Doug, my husband, and just start yelling, Fed, 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 Fed.
Listen, that's what the way you present yourself, it commands respect. Or not respect.
Exactly. Now, Bill says, what about people who wear jeans or shorts? I wear a nice shirt and dress slacks or a suit to a funeral. Well, I think there are other places besides funeral for men to wear a nice shirt and dress slacks. I don't think you have to wear a suit all the time to work, unless that's what the type of job you have. And they also say to dress for the job you wish you had, not the job that you currently have, right? Now, there was a along these lines, and he did not know I was going to bring this up, and neither did you guys. On Reddit, a guy posted a post titled "Sexist Dress Codes Leave Men Out to Dry in Hot Weather." He said, "I hate this policy in my office. It's okay for women to wear a skirt or a dress, but men aren't allowed to wear shorts, even in this hot weather we're having. We aren't even client facing. And these days, you can definitely buy shorts that look smart, casual enough to wear to the office." And he explained that the skirts, which his female coworkers wear, quote, don't scream professional in a traditional sense. So he and the rest of the male workforce should be able to bare their legs as well. What do you think? Men wearing shorts, nice kind of like dress shorts in the office.
I'm saying if girls can get away with wearing like a shorts onesie kind of thing, it looks kind of professional. You know the outfit I'm talking about, but it's clearly for summer and open, right? And men still have, and yeah, or a real short sundress, right? Where a guy still has to wear a tie and a jacket and pants seems kind of silly. Like if you're not going to make women wear like, more business appropriate, tights and like really like lock it in like dudes have to wear a tie.
Yeah, cover it up. I say cover it up. Yeah. Cover men's legs up. I don't want to see ball sacks hanging out. The girls want to wear a skirt. It's still formal. It's still dressy. And if the girls want to wear something very risque, even better. Put a pole in the office for all I care. Guys, you wear pants. Nobody wants to see your hairy legs around the office.
I'm actually for a business code in business. I agree. Yeah, I think.
Thank you. Because with the next step is the mandal, and men's feet do not need to be seen in public.
Yeah.
No, never.
No.
I'd rather a man have no feet.
All right. Greg says here in Central Virginia, you can wear anything as long as you're covered in overalls. He also says like professional men do in Bermuda. Exactly. In Bermuda, they wear Bermuda shorts and they're very nice, but we're not in Bermuda.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, you have to have standards, right? I mean, that should be the whole thing. I mean, there should be even standards, whatever they are, you decide, but there should still be, even within, if you go like a more lax dress code, summer dress code, there still should be standards. You shouldn't be allowed to wear flip-flops.
Right. Bermuda. You go to Bermuda to get drunk. Ever hear someone say, I need a really bad surgery? Let's go to Bermuda for it. No, nobody wants to go to. For that reason, no one wants to go to Bermuda. Everyone's in shorts, working half a day. You don't go for anything serious in Bermuda.
Bermuda scrubs sound cool, though.
Bermuda scrubs because they'd be short?
They look short, yeah. They're like scrubs, they're short,
Cut off.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So I agree, no shorts in the office, but this is the problem. This is what's happening now is the younger generation coming up is all about comfort and they don't understand standards. They don't see a reason for standards. They don't understand why when we did the show, remember, James, we did the show last week about complaints that they have about working with baby boomers, right? And what was one of their complaints? One of their complaints was they don't understand why they have to follow a chain. If I'm working with someone, why can't I just email them directly? Like they don't understand that just because the boss's office, the vice president or president's office is down the hall, doesn't mean that you can just drop on in and say hi. You have bosses above you who have bosses above you, because they think that boomers are too hung up on titles. Like right. They don't understand that everybody's not equal. Like they don't get it. So I think that's why they don't understand standards of dress.
Listen, when I do a show, and if it's like a nice show, and I know there's people who are like 50 and over at the show, and it's a dinner show, and I'm getting paid some decent money. You know what? I wear a jacket. I wear shoes. I'm trying to show them that I respect them. You see, they don't understand that when you dress like that, you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for them. I want to show you that I respect you. No, everybody wants to see somebody dressed up more than not dressed up. Listen, go to a wake. The guy's in a suit in the box. He didn't dress himself. He didn't dress himself. It's everyone else. They say, you know what? Want to put him in shorts? No, put him in a nice suit. I want to see him like
that. No onesies in the box. Yeah,
no, exactly.
So along those lines, I posted on Twitter. I've got to find it. I posted something on Twitter that actually will be in the X. I posted it on X, and it should be in the Washington Examiner tomorrow. They're going to do a story on it. I said the following. Hold on. I don't know if anybody else saw it. I don't know if you guys saw it. James doesn't pay attention on Twitter, and I don't. Pay attention. That this is true.
When I got out of radio, Fred, that's the last day I paid attention to anything going on in the world. And that was last December. So I don't know anything going on at all, unless it's about comedy or music. That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah, where is it? Oh, Christmas. Why can't I find this? It got a lot. Okay, so this is what I tweeted out yesterday. I said, "Am I the only one who wants to see every Republican show up in the Senate dressed like Fetterman and do it? Every Republican show up that way and do it until Schumer figures out what a dumb idea it is to normalize dressing like an 8th grade boy." I'm picturing Chuck Grassley in an oversized hoodie and shorts, right? Because you're going to see Chuck Grassley, who is an adorable, lovely, wonderful man. But I mean, can you just see him like just swimming in a sweatshirt and a hoodie and shorts, and just to show the world what a ridiculous standard the Democrats are setting here. Now, the GOP is not going to do it. That's not going to happen. But it's amazing the response that it got. I mean, I'm not used to getting 5,800 views on one tweet in a couple of hours. I'm just not. That's not something. But it really hit a chord with people because I think most of us have a dress code when we go to work. You can't just show up. So why should our senators not have a dress code when they go to work? Why is it okay, but yet they make their staff and they would make the little people, us, abide by a dress code to see them?
Right. Well, I've never seen Nancy Pelosi look terrible. Didn't you say Nancy Pelosi, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen her dressed poorly.
No, she looks great.
Yeah, she was dressed.
You know what? Also, it's a little disrespectful to other people in a certain way. Like, let's say tomorrow, the Speaker of the House came and dressed with a sombrero and Mexican stuff, and you would say, "Hey, that's not appropriate." Right?
Right.
If somebody came dressed up, I don't know, just inappropriate because it wasn't either their race or a Jewish person who was in Congress came in and had like the Arab wrap on them and said, "Oh, look, I'm going to dress up like an Arab today." There would be a big outcry. So this guy, instead of dressing like he made it, you made it. You're in government. You have a great job. You're dressing like a poor person. I think that's along the same lines as you are really doing something that's unhanded. Like that guy, Menage a Trois. He's doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing.
That is, wasn't sure where you were going with this, but that's actually brilliant. That he's playing the part. I know you should punch out now because you've Apex.
They didn't just give me a GED diploma, okay?
Now Text USA says it's called guerrilla warfare. Dress down to blend in. Again, to break down the norms of society. No rules, just rights. Or is that the slogan for Outback Steakhouse?
But he's not blending in. He's sticking out like a sore thumb. But he's dressing like a poor person. And there are people who are saying out there, "I wish I could afford a suit to go on a job interview or something like this." And this jabroni is dressing like he's poor when he's not. We're not dressing like we're poor because we want to. We're dressing like we're poor because we're poor.
You're right. But, even back in the day, poor people could afford to go to court. Let's just pretend and say, I had a little mishap with something I had in my car I shouldn't, and I had to go to court a couple times, right? Every time I went to court, I showed up in the minimum, like slacks and a sweater. And I almost felt, or a button down. And I almost, every time I went, thought, maybe I'm not dressed well enough. And then you get there, and people are there in their second or third best pair of pajamas.
Yeah.
In court, in front of a judge.
Right. But the judge recognizes that you went out of your way to have respect for the court.
I think so. I think
so. Already you're not saying, "Hey, I don't give a shit about the law. And no matter what you say, I'm going to do it again." You're saying, "Hey, have some mercy on me. Look, I'm showing you respect." And I think when you dress like a poor person, when you're not, it's disrespectful to poor people.
and I didn't hypothetically end up with a marijuana charge on my record. So it proves out to be right? But you see my point. Like, it does prove to be right. Like, if you go into a situation like that and you act with some sense of respect and attempt to speak English, and I don't mean English like with an accent, I just mean like not talking to the judge like he's your brother, right?
Exactly.
You talk to him with some sense of respect of like, yes, sir, thank you, sir, I appreciate that. You go a long way.
Well, listen, I'm Sicilian. You think I've never been in court?
Right. Well, yeah. You know, sir.
I have a court closet of all my wardrobe for court.
Yeah, that's very Sicilian, sir.
Depending on the defense, I'm like, let me see, murder, arson.
Murder.
I'm gonna wear my felony shirt.
You just get picked for juries a lot. That's all.
That's all.
Yeah.
I made it up like Swami Menage a Trois.
So before we go here, because this has been so much fun, I apologize for my freezing up on a regular basis here, but I didn't get to ask you, since I froze up when we were talking about comedy. How does one wind up being a professional comedian? Like, is that something you set out and said, yeah, I want to make enough money to survive and struggle the rest of my life, but hey, I'm funny?
It's always been a hobby for me. It's always been a hobby. At first, though, I worked construction 37 years in New York City. I was an electrician, and I was always unemployed.
Were you in the IBEW in New York, in Manhattan?
Of course, I am.
No, what? Okay, okay. A lot of the pieces of the if you live in this area, you know what that means. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. So I was always unemployed. It was always a 6-month wait for work. You get So I started to do comedy, and then I started to get a couple of jobs. And I said, you know what? Let me stick this out. Let me see if I can make a couple extra bucks, because my kids were in Catholic school. The nuns were looking to break my legs as soon as you were 2 months behind. So I did it really, for money and as a hobby, but it just started to take off. But it's pretty much always been just a hobby, just to see, because I like to write. I want to see if I could write something that makes people laugh. That's it.
Okay.
I did 2 open mic nights in my life, and I have so much respect because I'm a musician. So I've played in front of people and crowds and done all that kind of stuff. But there's something about just you up there, and you're looking out at those people, and they're expecting the words to come out of your mouth to be funny. They're expecting, right? They come to a comedy club thinking comedians are funny, and that's hard. It took to get 3 minutes. I had to go through the entirety of my life, all the stuff that I'd ever used on radio during morning shows, years of my life to get what's probably not the best 3 minutes ever, right? Twice.
I have a whole set about anthrax, about people sending me anthrax.
That's why you're popular. It's that anthrax humor.
I see a Netflix special right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's
Anthony Rax.
Yeah.
Well, I do have an upcoming gig at 4:30 mass on Saturday. I'll be appearing at St. Dorothea's in Eatontown, where I and my husband will be asking for couples to volunteer to do the help with the next pre-Cana event. Ooh. So I've got about 3 minutes, so I should be able to fill it. I think I'll be all right.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
So I will tell you, pressure's on.
You know what you do? You go to pre-Cana and you put like a pillow under, like you're pregnant, and you say, "Me and my husband are getting married next year," and let me talk to you about the pitfalls.
I'm sure Father will love that. I'm sure that's going to be that's going to be fantastic.
Catholic priests go either way, because I know some that would love that. I definitely know some that would hate that.
Yeah, I've done shows in front of priests, and some of them were like laughing out of their seat. One of them, I said the first joke, he got up and left the room.
Oh, he's out.
The first joke. You know what they told me? Father, this guy, he's so cool. He's so cool. Last year, the comedian worked him into the set. Work him in, say anything. So I was like, hey, it's Father Anthony. I go, Father Anthony's he's so Italian. His church is Our Lady of Mind Your Own Business. And he got up and walked.
Oh my gosh.
And that was it. Everybody was
Right.
looking at me like, how could you say that to Father Anthony? How could you say it?
But
I said, you just told me he's cool. The guy first joke, he left. That's it.
that's not offensive. That's hilarious. That's not offensive at all.
Well, it was offensive to the Virgin Mary because it was Our Lady of. I don't know.
Didn't Jesus make the sense of humor on it?
I mean, you know what? Look, priests are just like everybody else. They have different senses of humor. You know, our current priest, Father Mike, I will be walking a tightrope because I don't think he thinks a lot of things are funny. So I will be walking a tightrope on Saturday when I have my, you know, my little after the homily, and nobody wants to see another speaker after the homily. Nobody, if you've never been to a Catholic mass, if you want to hear an audible groan during a religious service, have a second speaker after the priest gives the homily. Because everybody goes, oh.
And it's football season. Nobody wants to hear anything. I had so many bookies in my parish. We had the NFL updates going across the altar.
See, I find Catholic humor to be hilarious because I live it. I mean,
Right.
I was born into the faith, cradled. I'm sure I'll be a cradle to grave Catholic. You know, got married in the Catholic Church. I volunteered, like, so we're involved. It's part of our life. But a lot of the stereotypes exist for a reason, and a lot of them are absolutely stinking hilarious. You know, and I know you do a lot of Italian humor, obviously, Freddie, because you are. I didn't know that you were. I don't know if you know this, but you're Italian, and for people who haven't caught on, and I. Growing up in New Jersey, I'm not Italian, and hence the skin cancer things, because my family is all from north of the Alps. So, you know, we tend to, but I understand the Italian humor. I get it because I'm surrounded by it. I'm surrounded. I understand Yiddish, and I'm surrounded by Italian, so I get the whole thing because of that. You know, so it's funny. I don't know. I think it's.
I think all ethnic comedy is funny. I love when Jews do Jewish humor. I love when Spanish, Puerto Ricans do it. I love when Black people do it. I just love all of that because there's that kernel of truth, and then a good comedian explodes it into something that everybody could appreciate. I've had a lot of different people at my shows, and they all thought, they were like, yeah, my grandmother was the same. You know, they're Puerto Rican or Black. Same thing. Old grandmother that's cooking and overbearing. It's the same thing.
There's so many similar threads. Very quickly before we go, I just want to give this story out there, and then because we were talking about you're doing a fundraiser for Bill Spadea, who clearly is running for governor of New Jersey. He'll probably go against Jack Ciattarelli. You will be doing that, Fred, and then you have one coming up at the end of the year. You'll be doing it December 15th out on Long Island at the. I wrote it down here somewhere. Oh, at the. Oh, what did I do with it? Hold on, I wrote it down. Don't tell. American Warehouse, but it'll be up on FredRubino.com.
I think America First Warehouse.
Oh, America First Warehouse. America First. All right, because I'm going to look for it. But FredRubino.com, and that's another fundraiser. So you do a lot of good things, and I love when people give back in that way. Listen to this. Ivanka Trump made a secret trip to Maui a couple of weeks ago. Joe Biden. Did Joe Biden finally go to Maui? I think he finally went. He went.
Made fun of how hot the ground was.
That's right.
What a piece of shit.
And when he talked about his house fire, where, my wife almost died. It was it was put out in 20 minutes. It was confined to the kitchen.
My Corvette almost burnt.
That's right.
Like all these children that died,
We still don't know how many. She joined a couple of years ago a program called City Serve International. She went with them on a humanitarian mission. They distributed 250,000 prepackaged meals for displaced families impacted by the wildfires. They visited a Lahana church that's acting as a food pantry. That's the church. We talked about this on the show, where it's a Catholic church. I forget the name of it. And everything around it is burned to the ground, and the grass is not even brown at the church.
Ooh.
Wow.
Everything around it is gone, and the church and the rectory and the school not touched. So it's serving as kind of like a place for service now for people to come in, a food pantry. And she had on a black tank top and green cargo pants, and her name tag just said Iva, IVA. She didn't even have Ivanka on it, just Iva. So she was flying low. She distributed fresh produce there that they brought. A city serve said in a statement, her humble presence lifted spirits and reminded the people of Lahaina that they are not forgotten. Amid the tears being shed are tangible signs of hope and love. And with the arrival of meals and supplies, our partners and team, alongside Ivanka, were lifting heavy boxes of supplies, consoling survivors, and passing out meals to those who have lost everything. She and they distributed water, produce, gift cards, and other needed supplies. And they're also providing gas cards and air filters because they're not allowed to drink the water, and they have to stay away from the area, the fire damaged area. She used her connections. Listen to what she did. Next week, a 747 filled with $1 million worth of supplies is headed to Maui with e-bikes, electric scooters, electronics, toys, dry foods, small appliances, ukuleles, and several pallets of jockey clothing because of her connections. And she did it without any kind of publicity. She didn't do it in front of the cameras. And I am so sick and tired of liberals on Twitter saying that, oh, Ivanka did this, she and Jared, they did all these horrible things she had her contracts with China because of her father, and they need to be investigated. What is Hunter doing? Hunter's not doing a damn thing. But here she goes by herself quietly. She puts not even her name on her name tag. She's got a 747 that she made contacts to donate this stuff to fly there for these people. And it's all very quiet. She's worked with them for almost 4 years. She worked with them during the pandemic to provide food to those in need. And she helped them send 1 million meals to Ukrainians. And she went to Poland with the group to aid refugees. I never even heard of any of that. So she's like her father. She doesn't do it for the publicity.
Well, let me tell you something. Hunter is making sure that strippers and cocaine addicts are not forgotten. And he is supporting that community as much as he can.
And if somebody could get me his number. No,
You know what is crazy about this country? And I don't understand it at all. I can't believe we still live in a country where we have to go out and raise after a disaster. This country doesn't have hundreds of billions. We gave it to the Ukraine. It was right there. Any disaster. First of all these wildfires, by now, we should have 50 planes that could scoop water up and put out any wildfire within 5 hours. We should have that already. We should be making these planes. Any disaster, there should be on tarmac somewhere just millions of pounds of blanket, clothes, everything within 24 hours. This country should have the resources to get somewhere and just blanket the area with help. But you still see weeks later raising money for the hurricane victim. 5 blocks in Tennessee are wiped out. The government can't go in and buy 5 people's houses, buy 5 blocks of houses and rebuild them. And if we could give it to somebody, there's no reason why any natural disaster should need anything from the private sector. I still don't understand it.
Well, you're not going to get there until you can pay the military so they don't have to go and get food stamps.
Amazing, right? Isn't it?
They don't even have money to pay the military food. We're probably pretty far from having enough money for that. It's insane, isn't it? It's crazy. It's bonkers. I can't believe it's ever been that bad. That for guys in the military, I know they never made a lot of money, but I don't ever remember hearing about this in the 90s, 80s.
Oh
70s.
yeah, no,
I know people who've had military careers. It's never been to a point where the rank and file have to get food stamps.
It has been going. I remember talking about this back in the 90s. This is not the first time that they've had to do this. Yeah. It's happened in the past. Scary. Absolutely. So
the private sector should not have to react to a terrible disaster, whether it's a fire, an earthquake, whatever it is. we should be right now. Oh, listen, there's a lot of time in between these disasters. We should be staging right now, waiting. It's on its way. There's a hurricane going to Louisiana. We have the ships waiting to land there an hour later.
Listen, I agree. There's no reason. Why were these people in the ocean for 5 to 8 hours treading water, right? Why was that happening? But here's the other thing. Why don't we know the cause of that fire yet officially?
You know why?
Why don't we know that? I just think that's kind of weird. Nobody's asking that question. There's a lot of big events that happen in this country, and then we never get an answer why, and everybody just seems to forget about it and go on.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who set the fires in Canada. We don't know who set the fires in Maui. We don't
Australia.
know. We don't know who burnt down the 3 chicken processing plants all over the United States. But we found an old lady in a crowd of 5,000 who took a selfie in front of the and January 6th. We had face recognition. We found her. We kicked the door down. She's in jail.
We don't know who the January 5th bomber is, right? Now, according to Julie Kelly, again, who is on top of this, who has a lot of sources, according to Julie Kelly, they do know who it is. They tracked this person. They know that this person got on the DC Metro. They know that they know the card that the person used. They know the card was bought a year beforehand. They know the person who bought the card is not the person who used the card, and they have the license plate of the car that this person, they know the Metro stop they got off at in, I didn't want to say it was Silver Spring, Virginia. No, Crystal City. I'm sorry, Crystal City. I could be wrong on that. But they got off. They know where the person got off because you have to, in DC, you need the Metro card to get on, get off. It's really a pain in the butt.
Yes, you need a ticket to get off.
It's ridiculous. They know where the person got off, and they have cameras. They know the license plate of the car the person got in. But they've never
Nothing's done.
Why not? It's ridiculous.
Hey, Jeffrey Epstein died under the craziest circumstances ever, but Jazine Maxwell, who has the same list, somehow magically is doing yoga. So it's a weird world.
Well, she is friends with Hillary, and Hillary did a lot of yoga apparently too, like 33,000 emails worth. So, Do you think her butt has ever seen? Do you think that body has ever seen Downward Dog or Child's Pose or anything like that, or Ashtanga, whatever? No. It has never seen that. She's never done a day of yoga in her life. All right, quickly, let's see here. Good job. That's great news about Ivanka. This is the first I've heard of it. The Trumps are a class act and true patriots. Now, that's what makes America great. No greater love can you have than to lay your life down for others. Tony, look at this. Tony, we haven't heard from Tony the whole show. Tony says, greed is America's true enemy. Tax Now Tax USA says, America first. Tony, we found out aliens are real.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We found that out.
Mm-hmm. Hey, remember I said I'm not a big Trump guy, but he is the second president ever to say military-industrial complex on a national stage. And by the way, find that speech.
Oh, interesting.
Remember when that happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right around the time of Syria, when they thought we weren't defending the Kurds, and for the first time liberals were somehow pro-war, and like, why aren't you sending troops over there? And it's like, what? Got a little mixed up. But he said military. I was actually running the board at O&D at the radio station I used to work at down the shore in Atlantic City, and I watched that speech happen, and that speech ended pretty quickly after he says military-industrial complex.
I found it. It's super easy. Just type into DuckDuckGo, Donald Trump military-industrial complex.
Nice.
Politico, Forbes,
people
HuffPo,
always screenshot it.
Business Insider, Newsweek. Yeah, it's all here.
Yeah.
So if you can't use Google. You got to go to DuckDuckGo.
Gotta go to DuckDuckGo.
You're
absolutely right. You got to go to DuckDuckGo.
Yeah,
it's fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, all these videos that have disappeared off of YouTube and Google and stuff, like all the cops that were waving people in on January 6th. AOC could be the dumbest person that has ever served. But one thing she said right after January 6th was so spot on, and she never said it again. She said, there are videos of the people who protect our lives that are waving people in it and opening the doors and saying, come on in, and just giving the windmill sign to come in. She says, these people are still in charge of our security. She goes, were they in on it? Are these people in the hallway still trying to get people into here to hurt us? Why aren't we investigating who these police officers are? Boom. Done.
Wow. That I never knew she said that, but she's absolutely right. And here's the other thing. Didn't Kevin McCarthy promise that he was going to make public when he became speaker all 140,000 hours or whatever it is, or 40,000 hours of video? What are you doing? 40,000 hours of video that he was going to make public. He never did. Did you notice that?
That must have been some envelope he got not to let that out. Must have got some paycheck.
Well, let me tell you, Matt Gaetz apparently has enough votes to oust him as speaker, so it's going to be interesting. So,
I hope
all right,
so.
We're going to let you go. Go to fredrubino.com. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Fun.
It was a lot of fun. And if you're ever up for it, the next time, if James is out and you want to co-host with me, we could do that too. That's up to you.
That sounds great.
I will definitely throw it out there to you. Thank you so much. FredRubino.com. Find him on what are you on Twitter? What's your handle on Twitter? Oh, he's frozen.
No, I'm just kidding with you.
Oh.
Oh, that was worth it. That was worth the wait.
Now he's really gone. Oh, now he's back.
Just go to fredrubino.com or go to Fred Rubino on Twitter, on X, or on Facebook or YouTube, and see me there. Every morning I have a cup of coffee and I talk about the three biggest things in the news. So come see me live tomorrow on Facebook. And thank you for having me.
Of course. And you have YouTube. You do some cooking stuff as well, right?
I have a cooking show that is on Facebook, and I put it on YouTube also. It shows people how to make very inexpensive Italian recipes very easily in 20 minutes.
You know where you and I need to go? We need to go visit Patsy's in New York.
I love Patsy's.
You know, Sal, we'll go see Sal and the crew. Patsy's up at, what are they, 56, 58, 56?
I don't know that.
Right off of Broadway, the best Italian food in Manhattan. And I have not been in a long time because I don't have the time to fill out the paperwork if I get stabbed. So I have not been into the city since last year. Last year I went in for the Gracies in June, and that.
Well, you could go in now. I think you have herpes. No one's gonna go near you.
They're gonna think I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Take care. Thank you, guys. Great having you. Bye-bye.